You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and/or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radagast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce, and this is episode 91. And as promised, for those of you who listened to episode 90, I am joined today with three very close friends of mine at this point. Please welcome the Soul Provision Organization officers, Groza, Marauder, and Mustang. How you guys doing?
Good evening. How are you?
What up? Hey, what's going on?
I need to drop like an applause. Like I need some sound effect that like really welcomes you. But
access granted.
We need your Mustang. Yeah, access granted by all means. Well, hey guys, man. Okay, so there's 2 days that separate the last episode to this episode. We're actually recording Sunday night. We're gonna do some editing and release it to the next Friday. So this isn't so much about the news as it is our reactions and how we are all kind of adjusting to the Star Citizen universe circa 2955 or whatever. So
4.0.1 is out and it's fantastic.
Oh God, I want to throw something at you. I want to virtually choke yourself. It's on the PTU, right? It didn't drop in live, has it? Or am I the only?
I'm anticipating this releasing in 5 days, and
there you go.
Maybe it'll be true.
Because I'm sitting here like, did that really drop? And I'm an idiot and don't know this. Yeah, well, hopefully that's a solve all. But here we are. Again on Sunday. I'd like to go through and just see how everybody is doing. Groza, you are considered the org's bicycle. Everybody wants a ride. So let's it'll make sense here in a couple minutes when we read the emails. But Groza, how are we doing, buddy? How have you been since the last time we spoke in episode 82?
Well, I mean, it's sort of a sore subject. I had like a horrible back issue, which began basically on December 13th, and I was just now able to walk without looking like a psycho like 2 days ago. So it's been quite a journey. There's like nothing that can really be done other than get an epidural essentially and wait. And so it's been pretty horrible. Had a pretty bad Christmas, pretty bad birthday. My poor mother, honestly, like she like helped me out as much as she could, but I know that it was just horrible for her to be so powerless. But my spirits are high. And we're coming out of it. So I'm happy about that. But honestly, it really interrupted my gaming because sitting was horrible and very uncomfortable, and like walking downstairs into my basement was not super accessible. So it was kind of a perfect time to be forced to take a break a little bit from gaming all the time because it was, there were some bumps in the road and some obstacles in the past month in the verse.
Sure. Yeah. Marauder, you need to pick us up, man. That was depressing as hell. So I'm kidding. No, I want to respond first real quick. Groza, sorry to hear that, buddy. So sorry to hear that. Actually, I have a lot of friends going through back issues. I have a really close friend that survived cancer, and is having back issues from that whole situation. So I'm sure, there's some relation there. But yeah, dude, I'm really sorry to hear that. You didn't miss anything. Nothing. You missed Pyro for maybe a couple of weeks if you could get in game and do it. But hopefully you're on the up, and hopefully things get better for you. So I'm sorry about that, dude.
Unfortunately, I did not have any of the problems that like people like you and Disowned and the people that got locked out for weeks.
Yeah, let's just rub that in. That's fine.
Sorry. But the only time that it happened was I almost destroyed Soul Provision Bike Division in the Daymar Rally because I convinced Steel to go to Orison with me. Yeah. We logged out, and then we were kind of locked out for about 20 hours the day before the Daymar Rally. So
good.
That was That was a little sketchy, but
I'm sure y'all needed that anxiety before the event. So good.
I had
good job,
like
buddy.
I had a meltdown. Like I was like,
I remember.
This was not good.
I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, over to you, Marauder. You almost rage quitted a couple minutes ago when you couldn't get your audio and video to work. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't touched my computer in a week, so I don't know what the hell is going on. But everything's good now.
Good, buddy.
No, I think my life's been a little bit better than Groza's since the last time we talked. No, same as Groza. I haven't had as much the same issues that everybody else has had, other than the issues with not being able to get in if you were logged out at Orson.
Yeah.
Now that's completely different than cargo missions not working at all. But I have been able to get in game. Just cargo missions have been a bit of a mess lately. So
yeah, I might wrap up this podcast early. I mean, I'm not really appreciating y'all rubbing this in. It doesn't feel good.
No, but I mean, I stuck with it. I mean, I probably tried to do 100 missions in the last month and completed maybe 10 of them.
That's good.
So it's not for lack of trying, that's for sure. But it's I always think of the Curb Your Enthusiasm meme every time I think of this game. It's F you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Right?
This game sucks, but I love it.
I'll rage quit the game, and then the next day I'm like, let me try it again.
Sure.
I just can't quit Star Citizen. So.
Sure.
No, but outside of Star Citizen, no, nothing big, and just been doing some traveling, traveling with the family, and just enjoying life.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. The family stuff. You and I caught up a little bit earlier about the family stuff, and that's what makes it, right? Like, I don't know, if the game doesn't work, you know what I do? I sign off and I go play with my son. I don't know. Yeah. It's not that big of a deal. I don't lose my shit every time I can't, log into the game. But I understand obviously the sentiment. So, Mustang, if you think it, he's already designed it, right? So like every Sunday we have like a team sync between the four of us, and we're like, man, it'd be really cool if we did X, Y, Z. And he's like, oh, you mean like this? I already have a PDF. It's badass. So Mustang, how you doing, buddy?
Well, pretty good. And yeah, I've been hanging in there, doing a lot of design. Not enough over the holidays. I want to get a lot more artwork done, but I got some stuff done with the break. And I invited a new automobile into the family, which I'm pretty proud of. I got the one we were talking about.
Okay.
And
do we want to call it out? Do we want to celebrate?
It's a Ford Bronco.
Yeah, it is.
And so
it's
now
a Chadley Ford Bronco.
It's very Chadley, and now my wife has to put up with me talking about how I can go anywhere and drive over anything.
Yep. And
park anywhere, and she's like, enough already. I'm tired of climbing in this truck. It's so much fun.
When you say Chadley Bronco, is it the Raptor Bronco?
It is.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Of course it is. Right.
Yes, it is.
That's
fine. It is a yeah.
So you're gonna road trip. You're gonna road trip to Austin when CitizenCon is here. I'll take my Jeep. You take your Bronco.
Let's bring it. T-tops and tops off, and we'll go topless to CitizenCon. That's
the vehicles. The vehicles.
Groza is definitely going topless to CitizenCon.
We're gonna go topless to CitizenCon.
I knew that was gonna get lost in conversation.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna be your neck of the woods next week. Sunday to Sunday. Well, Sunday to Saturday. So
yeah,
we get a chance. Star Citizen wise, I ran into some significant issues with the release of 4.0, and while it looked beautiful, and I missed the org jump, which I was really sad about.
That was sad, yeah.
But I got the 630 lockout for 9 days, I think it was, and my Star Citizen experience then became how do I relate all these issues on Spectrum to let CIG know how bad this problem was? And then I was like, I'm not doing their QA for them, so I'll wait till they start sending me a W4.
Well, they have to have many of those tickets already.
Oh, they did. They had
already tracking
thousands.
Yeah.
There were a lot of duplicates, but it's an interesting bug, and it's been an interesting sort of experience, but at the same time I'm having so much fun with where things are and what the org has been doing, because our attitude the last org night, even, we don't need we need the game to work, like to let us on.
Yeah.
But we don't need the box missions. We don't need the things. Yeah. We'll make our own shit up, right? And we get around it. And that's one of the things I think that makes our org a little bit special. At least that's what I keep hearing from our other pilot.
Yeah. No, it reminds me of my time in the military when you had like training exercises and it would be hell. It'd be shit for like the 3 days that you were doing it. But it sucked, but you knew afterwards you and the guys would go out drinking and it'd be like the bar conversation. Like at some point we're going to all be sitting together during CitizenCon and be like, hey, remember that time in January? Like, right, we were all twiddling our thumbs, making up our own thing to do in game and still made the most of it. Like, we're going to look back at this time and I think it's going to end up being a positive. So that's how optimistic I am. So the last time we spoke, episode 82, it was obviously last year. So we did have a change of year. Happy New Year to everybody. Even obviously the listeners as well. Happy New Year. Hope this finds everybody well. Let's kind of look back at last year. I just quickly want to go over, like, what did you bring over to this next year? Like, what is your favorite memories, whether it's supervision in the organization or whether it was in game? Like, when you think back at the last 12 months, like, what has Star Citizen meant to you? I know it sounds very, I don't know, melodramatic, but I'm curious. Marauder, we'll start with you. We'll go Marauder, Mustang, Groza, but just curious. You want to lead us off, Marauder?
Yeah, so I feel like we had a similar conversation when we last spoke, and I think my answer is the same. And I think it's Org Night, right? There's so many, right? I don't think I could come up with any one Org Night, but I feel like we have such organic gameplay that we generate as an org. Whether it's our Soul Reaper loop, whether it's something that Jenner's come up with that we're messing around with salvage. I think that there's so many unique org nights that we had last year, and I think it's hard to pick one, but I think we just have so much fun every week just getting together, whether the game works or not. We know there's always going to be entertainment and fun to be had for those 2 hours on Thursday nights.
That's right. Yeah. Was there a specific org night that stood out to you? Like, yeah, there's a lot of them, obviously, but
yeah. So I have to think that probably the one where we tried to do our high value cargo runs, right, where we took C2s down to Picker's Point, we bought RMC, we brought 50 million AUEC worth of RMC, brought it up to orbit in a whole C, and then, all hell broke loose. Quite literally, we broke an arm off of the whole C trying to load it up.
Of course we did.
And then we got Star Citizen trying to make the jump to Bikini Point to sell it. But I think that one was probably my favorite. Just the whole, we had 12 people floating around in orbit with 3 C2s, and everybody's pulling 32 SCU containers off, tractoring them onto a whole C. I thought it was a really cool moment. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think anytime you're able to get into the full spectrum operation that Star Citizen can bring, where it's not just one thing, it's not just singular, but you're adding all the different components that make Star Citizen what it is, I think that is the true potential. The problem is that doesn't really exist unless it's Xeno Threat, unless it's like some sort of driven global event or dynamic event, maybe then, but you almost have to have an org like what you're referring to really drive that gameplay. But it is something special. Like, I don't know. Only a few games out there have been able to achieve that, in my opinion. So, Mustang, what about you, dude? When you look back, what sparked the best memory for you?
Well, I think I have 3. The first one was the murder mystery.
Sure.
I think the idea, so, we sparked that idea for October, and we wanted to do some kind of Clue-like dinner murder thing, but the idea sort of took off and matured, and because of timing and scheduling, we didn't get to do it until probably late December, I think it was. But
yeah, it was late.
The time I had writing that with Groza and working that out with everything and sort of playing that lore adjacent storyline and stuff, but then getting to pull it off and watching that not go the way I thought it would, nobody wanted to space anybody, right?
Yeah.
The whole intent was like 5 minutes in, all right, somebody died. Who's going out the door? But none of us wanted to like space anybody. And I remember about midway through, I throw a little tantrum. Because the whole point's like, come on, everybody's got to, like, somebody's got to die here. Just to make it fun. But it was so much fun. Everybody getting into their characters and the response from the org, people playing along was fantastic. I think that was one of my top memories. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, my second most fond memory was really the span of the time when I was in my 9-day purgatory. I needed some Star Citizen, so I just let my screenshot folder sort of play a slideshow, and it played through the memory that we had. And like, there's a set where Groza and I did a whole bunch of missions together, and we're on Daymar. We're all dressed up. We're shooting guns for no reason, and so we've got all of these like sidebar photos, and they're just fantastic. But that little kind of experience of just having that play in the background, like, you know, like your grandparents have of kids, right? Or the
grandkids, and you're like Star Citizen.
Yeah. I'm going to be 80 years old, Groza. And what I'm going to want is, I'm going to want pictures of Groza, my little Amazon face, whatever thing's going to show. Like, me and the old folks, show me some supervision screenshots.
It's good.
When I was younger, I flew spaceships, young man.
What are you doing?
Yeah. What have you done in your life?
Yeah. Oh, you went to Mars? I've been to Daymar.
That's good.
All in all, watching it grow, seeing the ships, the new ships come out, seeing a ship released. I think I received the Zeus within the year, and this is the first time I had pledged for a ship, and so I actually hit my hangar. And so really, really excited about sort of the production line there of what CIG's doing. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with all that. And if you are interested in listening to the Murder Mystery, we have it as a bonus episode on Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy it. Watch it. It's hilarious. It really is hilarious. Nothing happened, to your point, nothing happened as was supposed to. But I think that is soul provision. Like, and what's funny is, like, every org night, we are very violent people. Like, Groza will just murder somebody for the heck of murdering them. No reason, no cause.
Mustang.
Yeah. It's mostly you, yeah. Stillwicker will accidentally kill half the group, you know. But an org night called Murder Mystery, no one else gets murdered. Like, what? That's not what we expected. Groza. Go ahead, Mustang. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought we would have bodies
right
up in the cargo bay.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Groza, up to you, man. When you look back, go ahead.
Yeah, so just comment on the Murder Mystery. I mean, we were so worried that people were just going to try to execute Steele within like 5 minutes just for the laugh of, just for the meme of it all. Like, we had like all these little mechanisms built in to be like, okay, once we get the fourth clue, Sulyce is going to kind of say something to kind of open up the idea of tribal council vote, right? Like, we were so worried that was going to be a problem. And like, everybody was so conservative about not wanting to execute justice unless we were really sure about it. And it was that was really surprising and also funny. I mean, honestly, so last year was, your first, it was like my second full year playing Star Citizen. And so the first year, I started like late February, May 2023. So, it was like, this was like the first year where it's like I was pretty much used to everything. I could kind of handle whatever the game had to throw at you. There were a lot of ships released. I haven't really looked at the past years when I wasn't a Star Citizen, but there were a lot of ships released. It was kind of cool to see ships being announced and coming out pretty much in the same like year, I guess. It felt like that to me, at least.
24, by the way, if you count the FC or F7C Mark IIs that are, I guess, kind of new releases. 24. That's a pretty good number for a year in ships. Yeah,
and it's lucky for me because it means I haven't had to sit here and wait for 5 years for a ship that they announced. Right?
That's fair.
I don't know. I guess that's sort of a easy mode for me, I guess. But no, I just doing kind of the creative sessions with Mustang, with Disowned, with things like that have been super fun. There have been a couple occasions where like I said to someone, like, let's go take the best screenshot ever that's definitely going to get featured by CIG. And then we did, and then it did. That was just like, that feels cool. Yeah. I would say generally my 2024 or 2954 consisted mostly of watching Disowned's meteoric rise as a screenshotter and a YouTuber, and just sort of pretending to be really salty about it. I had a lot of fun doing that, quite frankly.
And he's so humble about it too. You're like, hey man, you got featured again. He's like, what? I didn't know. Like, shut up, dude.
Yeah, he's like Brad Pitt, like the drug addict in whatever that movie was, where he's on the couch and he's just sleeping, just But yeah, he's a photographer. He's like no shit, a real photographer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Every time you would post it in the Discord, I would always react with an angry face. When we were talking about the galleries on the website, I remember I came up with this idea of like, oh, we should have like a greatest hits or like Hall of Fame, whatever, like things that got like selected or featured by CIG. Yeah. And then I just re-triggered myself because I'm trying to figure out, okay, how many times I get featured? It's like 3. And then how many times he is featured? It's like 20. And it's like, this isn't a Hall of Fame. This is just Disowned. Just Disowned. Yeah. Special.
That's right.
It's the Hall of Disowned.
No, like I think our org hit a really had like a really like a significant boost in growth. Yeah. Which has been really fun. It's been really fun to get to play with and meet all of these new people. I just ran my first contested zones yesterday with Daddy Dom, and that was a blast. And good. I was able to ask him about 25 questions per minute. And he, for whatever reason, he was very patient with me and answered all of them. Yeah. So super excited about contested zones. I mean, honestly, the whole system, the whole contested zone system and the executive hangar thing, it's like a real video game. Like there's really big picture stuff you have to do. It's like you can't just go grind out I don't think you could, maybe you could get one in a day if you played for like 18 hours. Yeah. Well, maybe that might be a little bit much, but really big picture. Super excited to do that.
Yeah, no, that's great. So we need to do it, and I think there's the problem is like there's enough issues with most of us. Once 4.0.1 drops, that's absolutely going to be an org night, and it needs to happen soon because I'm dying to go into contested zones. It looks like fun. It looks like a lot of fun, and yeah, he's sending screenshots of all the different like things that he's accumulated in preparation for org night. Like that shit's awesome, man. I love it when that organically just happens. People are looking forward to doing it as an org, so yeah. I think that's an incredible testimony. That's what we got going. I'm going to stay with you, Grizza. So as we transfer into 2955, now we know that the letter of the chairman mentions nothing new. We're not going to do a damn thing new this year, but we're going to stabilize and optimize. So you can read the tea leaves and say, maybe we're not going to get base building, even though that was kind of hinted. Like, we'll get into some of that prediction later on in this show. But as far as what you're looking forward to in 2955, what sticks out to you? What are you looking forward to in the next 11 months?
Well, I'm really looking for. I'm the type of citizen that is like, I totally want stability, and I totally want the game to work, and I totally want that letter to be true, and I don't think it's not true. I want them to do that, but then I also want ships, and I don't care that I get it. Yeah, they should work on stability, but like, bro, give me the ironclad. So when you last week you're like, oh my god, ironclad in late February, early March, I'm like, okay, first of all, that's psycho, but second of all, what if that's true? Oh my god. Like I'm excited about ironclad. I mean, the stability though, I think it feels like we're ready to, like, we need to land in a patch where we can do stuff in the game and like everybody's kind of itching for that. We've got all this new bright shiny stuff going on with the new MFDs, the new UI system, but we just kind of need it to be quick and sharp, and it to start working. I'm mostly just excited to kind of actually get into Pyro and actually start kind of actually operating in there. I'm also really excited for I want cargo missions where you got to, maybe you accept them in Stanton, you do a go pickup in Pyro and bring them back.
Yeah,
that's gonna be, I think, the big picture one that
like a true really interstellar cool. Like true.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like right now, I think it's just jump point back. I think, but
yeah. And then but my biggest thing I'm looking forward to is that if you guys thought the murder mystery thing was big, I'm not gonna spoil anything that's not mine to spoil, but Mustang has created a thing that is its own cinematic universe essentially.
And, do I know about this?
I don't know.
Well, yeah, what? Yeah, I'm getting called out now. So
no. Yeah, it's just
pressure's on. We can talk about it. I don't mind talking about it.
It's cool. It's just I have found a very excellent little creative partner in. I say little. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I've just found an excellent. I've never just written in this sort of way before, and he does all of the hard work, and then I just sort of get on and come up with little ideas, and then it seems to work out really well, quite frankly. So I'm really excited to see where that can go, yeah. It's really his thing, so I'm not going to talk about it. But it's these creative projects. I was just talking to Troublemaker today. It's like Star Citizen just makes a lot of creative endeavors a lot more accessible. Like I don't know how I can't draw or paint or I can't create all of the assets and stuff. But like when you kind of have this little world that exists already, and you can go capture it and then tell little stories, I feel like it makes that available to me. And so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Towards the end of this show, we'll get into the future of Soul Provision, which I think is going to be exciting for a lot of us. Even if you're not a member of Soul Provision, I think knowing the potential of orgs and like watching us kind of go through the growing phase is going to be super enticing for you as a listener and a viewer. So absolutely. Mustang, what are you looking forward to? And Marauder, you'll finish us up. But Mustang, what are you looking forward to this year?
The TAC, the Ironclad. One of my, like, as soon as I saw it, I'm super excited about it. I think when it comes, just sort of scaling up in a way that I haven't done yet, because I'm looking for that sort of expanse. And then also to kind of go back to the chairman's letter, I want stability. As a consumer of Star Citizen, I want the game to work when it works, right? Sure. And so I want to see that as a focus, and not just an after the fact, not just after the milestone, like, okay, we hit 4.0 when we said we were, like, hit it and nail it, right? Yep. This project is so amazing, but let's deliver some quality so that it gets used, and that it sells, and I can tell other people about it.
Yeah, that part, and that last part is really huge. Like, I want to get my friends into it, but I'm too ashamed to bring my friends into it in this current moment.
Yeah.
So, just quickly, my reaction to that, like, with Squadron 42, I'm gonna say potentially. With Squadron 42 potentially coming out next year, I think they need to stabilize. They don't have a choice. They need to stabilize the online version of it now, so that when it launches, you've got kind of a package deal there. And what I kind of see the future of Star Citizen Online, or whatever you want to call it at that point, like, I look at Red Dead Redemption 2, where the Moonshine game loop came out like a long time after it launched. I think we're going to have to be okay with that. Like Nix and everything else, like, let's launch it. Let's get everything ready to go next year when Squadron 42 is live. Let's get some viable product. And right now it's not. Like, it's not stable. We can't play it. But let's get something out there, because when Squadron 42 goes live, we're going to see Star Citizen bump. Like, so many more people are going to get into Star Citizen. it needs to be something worth presenting, right? Even without all of its bells and whistles. Marauder 2955, what has you excited?
Yeah, no, I think it's echoing a little bit of what Groza and Mustang said. Stability. I think taking some of the organic gameplay that we've developed and seeing how we can push that over to Pyro. I think there's a ton of opportunity over there. I think that I've been in Pyro for a total of 20 minutes since 4.0 dropped. So, I'd like to get over there a little bit more. I'm excited to see what we can do over there as an org. Even though it's not in Letter of the Chairman, it's not really related to the stabilities piece. I think base building, right? Even if it's tier 0, right? Give me the ability to build a small hab that I can log out in some small corner of some planet somewhere on Pyro or Stanton. Give me something to do with it, right? Let me build some small mining outpost where I can, mine something and take it to a refinery somewhere and sell it, right?
Sure.
Tier 0 can be very basics, but really looking forward to the base building aspect.
Yeah, 100%. We have a question from the community that asks directly about base building, so I'll save a little bit of that discussion for when we get to those emails. But Guys, that's all I want. Like, I don't care about Nyx. I don't care about all these other planet systems. I want base building. I want a place in the verse to call my own, to call Soul Provision's own. Y'all getting your own little like sections of the base. Like, I can't wait to discuss forward operating bases and a tactical like strategic plan. It's gonna be so much fun. It's not happening this year. I'm sorry. Like, the one time I'm gonna be pessimistic, like, I just don't see it happening. We're already 1 month in. We only have 11 months to go.
I think we'll get crafting.
I think that's fair.
I think we might get crafting, but I think Marauder is probably going to need to
lower those expectations.
I've been here since 2015. I can last another year or two.
I was going to say, I think we established you're our most tenured, right? Among the four of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. So God, I'm getting so old.
Yeah. We'll rely on you when we have
putting
those.
Star Citizen in my will.
That's right.
Incoming message.
All right, from the community, we have 4 emails. I'm going to read 3 because Ruckus, I'm sorry, my friend. I am not reading your question. It's definitely too spicy. It's your typical, like, who would you mate with? Marry and kill. Like, we're not doing that. So I appreciate the question, love your engagement, but I have a brand to protect, man. Come on. Sax,
a family show.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far. Like, we're not family friendly necessarily, but that's a little too much. All right, Saxus Prime writes, I'm not going to share my screen because, again, I don't want to dox email addresses here, but Saxus Prime writes, when do you think base building will be implemented into the game? Will we have a primary org base? If so, will the owner, who will be the owner, and who from the org will be allowed to access it? He asks, will I be able to claim my own small corner to plant my little shack in said plot? So let's just go through his first question first, because we already have been talking about it. I'll give you my vision and my intent for Soul Provision, and then I'll open it up to the 3 of you if you want to add anything to it. But when do you think base building will be implemented into the game? I think we already talked about that. I think it's a next year thing. We might get crafting, to Groza's point. Absolutely, I see that possible. Will we have a primary org base? Absolutely. Now, where will it be? I think is a brilliant question. No, it can't be in Crusader because they have platforms. They don't have a space to like actually set up unless you can eventually make a floating platform, in which case, hell yeah. I think that's canon to Soul Provision. It would be amazing. But I think that's a decision between us 4 and like what would be the most strategic from a logistics point of view. I think we need a forward operating base in Pyro. I think you do need a foothold in a non-contested or a contested system like that. You obviously have to do that. So you need satellite bases, but you need to have a main base in a place like Stanton that's going to be protected by the UEE Navy. And again, I'm going to open it up to all of y'all here in a second. Will I be able to claim my own small corner? Yeah, like as we saw in CitizenCon this past year, you can kind of merge bases and have your own kind of landscape with everybody. Absolutely, 100%. The intent is to have all of us be able to call home kind of in the same area. Yeah. So let me pause. Any reactions to what I've said? Any pivots? And it's perfectly fine if y'all are like, stupid idea, Sulyce. I would love to hear it.
No, I agree with everything you said. I mean, I look forward to small things like, there's going to be, you're going to have some amount of regular incoming materials, whatever you want to call it, commodities to sustain your base.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I can imagine that we've got some sort of task list where we have a running, hey, here's what we need. And, people can sign up to go out and get what we need, whether it's mining, whether it's, just purchasing commodities and bringing them back. I think that there's a ton of additional gameplay loops that kind of build on top of that. So I'm really looking forward to that potential.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say I'd like to see the idea of us not just sitting in one location, but maybe pushing out to a bunch of forward operating bases throughout whatever galaxy space is available, almost in a way to have a logistics foothold out there, right? Whether it's a smaller contingency, but that then goes back to Marauder's point about being able to push logistics. That gives us something to do almost as a way to like imagine, okay, we get our top leaders of the org out there, running their own fobs and their own systems, and we're supplying them with stuff, right? And helps keep community, helps keep communications, but also gives everybody something to do no matter what time of the day they can jump on. They're running, medical supplies to this spot or food to that spot or, those kinds of things. And like literal logistics runs.
Yeah.
I think could be a nice way to extend and dominate every universe that CIG wants to put out. Soul Vision's going to be there.
Yeah.
In your face.
Yeah, I love that. So we talked like last Sunday during our last like meeting between us four, we talked about breaking up into squadrons and having like a full spectrum ability or capability within like Squadron 1, Squadron 2, Squadron 3, like within Soul Provision. Like I think you're spot on. Having like a forward operating base that is controlled by Squadron, 1. Squadron 2 has a forward operating base in Nyx or, any of these other new systems. You would have to have a full spectrum operation, right? Like you would have to have the combat element, the logistics element, the medical, like you name it, you'd have to have that capability. And I think that would be just a great way, to your point, the camaraderie, the organization. That is how I truly envision that we are still capable in such a large organization, in such a large game. Groza, do you agree?
I love the idea of like, hey guys, we have this ability to build a landing pad that could actually refuel and repair, but we need 25,000 SCU of construction materials. I personally am not playing this game with the idea of designing and constructing buildings and bases. For whatever reason, that doesn't quite hit me. I mean, I do love Astroneer, which is a cartoony little thing with a lovely soundtrack where you terraform stuff. But I'm looking forward. I will be very happy to play a support role in that. I will be very happy to bring some stuff to support the cause, to help protect it, things like that. Doesn't quite trip my trigger personally. The crafting I'll probably be interested in because I think they're going to let us craft stuff like shields for ships that are going to be helpful. So I'll probably be interested in that. But
sure.
I'll end up being a support person for that endeavor for the org.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like,
I think
that's perfectly fine.
No,
go ahead. No, you go.
No, I'll just say, echoing a little bit of what Roseanne Mustang said there. I think that the idea of whatever time of day, right? Somebody has an hour to get on. that there's something that they can kind of contribute to, call it the economy of the org.
Yeah.
Right. Of like, like you said, Groza, we need 25,000, construction materials to construct whatever it is that we're deciding that we want to build at that time. Right. Everybody can contribute to that. And so I think that persistence of being able to contribute something to the org is a powerful draw to the game. At least it definitely is for me, knowing that, hey, I'm getting on and I'm actually doing something that is going, that is forward progress for something.
Yeah. No, and I think you're spot on, which actually ties into Saxus Primus, his second comment here that says, could leaders implement org missions or tasks to encourage resource acquirement or restocking org inventory? I mean, 100%. 100%. It doesn't necessarily have to be a formal mission that's offered in the game, but yeah, if we have an org night coming up in a couple of weeks, it's a raid night. We know we're going to hit raids eventually soon at some point. We know we need XYZ inventory. Like, yeah, if you're able to play for 30 minutes, go knock it out. Go help us, equip for the war. I think that is such an enticing idea within Star Citizen. His second question.
That leads right into.
Good.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, no, that leads right into, what you want to do is kind of having org nights, multiple nights of the week, right?
Yeah.
If we go to do salvaging to capture salvaging or mining or whatever we need, right? If we know that salvaging will get us what we need on one night, well, then, we've got, another org night we can do on a non-Thursday night.
Yeah. I kind of want to just quit my job and then manage supervision for 7 days out of the week. If only I could get paid for it. The second question, it says directed at Groza. Why? Do you know what he's talking about, Groza?
I don't really, but there could be any number of explanations to this. I appreciate the call out.
Yeah,
appreciate the call out. The why, I mean, I don't know. Like I do stuff for all sorts of reasons. For example, right before we just did this right now, like 3 hours ago or 2 hours ago or something like that, I just dragged Mustang into his first contested zone. I forgot to tell him you need to bring meds.
Completely unprepared. He was like, oh, you don't need this or that, just a core and a backpack. So
yeah, and then and then I was like, we entered in. I was like, all right, you're gonna want to explore all this stuff, but you're not allowed to. Just follow me.
Yeah, and then immediately he goes down. I'm like, okay, nice. I'm trying to get to you, and then I got shot, and he's like, meds, and I was like, I don't have any, asshole.
Very good. That sounds like Groza. That's on brand.
Yeah. I ask that question all the time.
Yeah, Groza, why? 100%. And then his last question, there's a story that goes with this, but I'm just going to skip straight to the question. Is there any official stance of Soul Provision toward the inhabitants of Pyro and their factions? The answer is honestly, no. Our organization will never be, unless the game changes where it forces our hand, Soul Provision will never dictate what you do in the game. As far as making these massive decisions, choosing a faction to align yourself with, picking your home residence where you spawn from. I get asked all the time, hey, Sulyce, where's our home that we quote unquote have to set our primary residence? It's bullshit. It's not a thing. Go do your thing, pick wherever you want, align yourself with whoever you want in Pyro and whatever faction you want, you do you. I think it's actually healthy to have Soul Provision maybe half divided, half with the citizens, half with anybody else you want to be a part with. I think that's actually a good thing until they force our hand. Okay, bear with me. I'm thinking in World of Warcraft, having to pick the Horde, right? Or having to pick the Alliance. That's I think if they choose that, we'll have to come together and make a decision for everybody. But until then, you do you. I don't know. Are we in agreement there?
Just like in real life, sometimes it's if you have a group of people, it's nice to have friends in many places.
That's right.
And connections in many places. So unless the headhunters fly a C2 into ArcCorp Tower as some big terrorist act, Soul Provision would probably need to distance themselves from them. Yes. If we were really wanted to RP it. But hey, we're all about getting rich.
Yeah, I agree.
Until they make it where the NPCs can follow you back to your base, right?
Yeah, there's things that we would need to consider. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to skip around to this other email. We think this is Daddy Dom. We think. There wasn't a player tag put in this email address or this email, so bear with us. But it is dealing with the base building as well. So when the building aspect comes to life in the future of Star Citizen, do you think that the game will give more of a feeling of playing of Rust? And how could that shape the game as a whole? Would it drive people away because of how PvP oriented it can be for a game like that? Or will it bring the current divider down in the Star Citizen community where it forms a kinship, like, I don't like PvP, or I love PvP but don't really care for PvE, but instead show people like, hey, I know we don't share the same views, but I see how we can work together to achieve a common goal of enjoyment. So I think the spirit of Daddy Dom's email is, how do we think that this plays into the PvP as in Papa and PvE as in Echo? How does it affect the dynamic of player versus player? Who wants to take it first?
Well, Daddy.
Oh God.
There you go.
Of course, Groza.
Why?
I mean, I've never played Rust, but I've watched some YouTube videos of Rust, and I mean, that was enough for me to not want to play the game Rust. I mean, sometimes our F12, our global chat can already be pretty rough, so I don't know that. I feel like if we could, I can at least press F12 and make that go away until they get us some better social mechanics in the game. Shout out to Greasy Khaleesi.
Oh Lord.
But I think if it becomes a little bit competitive and a little bit PvPe, I think there's a way to. I think that's good, because I think that if your org is doing things right, if someone doesn't like PvP, they don't have to PvP in order to contribute to the health or the growth of the org or the sustainability of the org, right? Like, somebody should be able, like, and that's where I think they have to try to find the balance. Like, an org, there needs to be ways to not get killed every time you want to do something at your base that doesn't just involve whoever knows the latest light fighter meta or whoever knows the latest whatever. So, like, the people that maybe don't want to just do dogfighting with light fighters constantly, they need to be able to still contribute to, like, the safety of the base, right? And so that, I remember during CitizenCon, and I talked about this at our last podcast, but like the whole planetary defense system, like, maybe there's a way to pay for it, right? And then people that are the more economic driven people of the org can contribute to that, right? Maybe it even just helps defend the base a little bit, but not entirely, right? Like, it's okay. It's okay as long as it's not the only solution, I think.
Yeah. Marauder, Mustang?
Yeah, I think that, I think CIG, they're going to figure it out, right? I mean, I think that they've already touched a little bit on how, if you're going to raid a base, you're going to attack a base, how that has to happen, whether it's you have to be in the same shard, that sort of thing. They're going to figure it out, right? Yeah. It's not going to be, you're going to be PvP'd every single time you log in at your base. So I think there's going to be, if you don't want to PvP, you don't have to PvP. If you want to do PvE, you can do that as well. I think that, from the beginning, they said that it's going to be a game for everybody. So, I think there'll always be opportunity to play, in whatever form you want.
Yeah. Mustang, any reactions to that?
Yeah, I think this speaks to a larger, and I don't mean to get overly philosophical on the podcast here, but I think players in a game or in a digital world get a lot of anonymity, right? And so they get to behave in a certain way where consequences don't have a full spectrum of actions, but on the back end, they have an emotional impact, right? To any player that's ever grinded for anything and lost something. And a lot of games now seem to apply that. And so when you're out there and you're just griefing somebody, and you get off, and when I say get off, you get offline.
Yeah.
When you're done playing and you walk away and you're like, haha, I had a great time because I smashed all these people and ruined their day. I don't think any game developer, or there's no code you can write for that kind of thing that allows that to go away or to be controlled without not allowing it to happen. But at the same time, the more you try to control that side of the coin, the more you remove sort of the immersive gameplay that we're all here for. So there's this unique balance, and it's not something I don't know how it gets solved. I think, me personally, when I go out, if I'm going to go with Groza, I know now I'm taking meds no matter what Groza said. Like,
Smart.
Why wouldn't you take it? Like,
and that's in real life too. In real life, if you go out with Groza,
like if he shows up for coffee, I'm like, okay, I need a first aid kit.
That's right.
But it's the same thing goes for something I've had to learn with 4.0. Every time I've had a ship and tried to put something on it so that I can come back to that ship, it's been gone. The ship is stalled or wouldn't respawn right, and so I've lost things that I've spent real money on.
Yeah.
So it's not, right now I'm being griefed by the game, but there's also, like, one of the reasons I keep playing this is because it is that hard. It is the Wild West of you need to be good at this, and I think that's where master modes rub people the wrong way. You needed to be a good pilot to play this game, and when they tried to sort of balance that out a little bit, it got, it took away from the time and effort people put into it.
Sure.
So all that to say, I say bring it. If you want a PvP, go do that. You want a PvE, we've got a space for either or, and yeah.
So for our listeners and viewers, our question for this week's episode will be, has any game done it well? Like, I would love to hear a game that you played where base building was there and there was base on base conflict, PvP versus PvE. And I would love to hear what you think. Now, when we were in development of New World, right, there's a lot wrong with New World. I'll be the first to say, like, we have our issues. New World was interesting because you would have like your, I'm going to use Star Citizen terms, but you'd have your organization, you'd have your base, and you would flag your base as like PvP, and you'd be given like these additional perks if like you were flagged for PvP, or you could lock your stuff down and say PvE, and like you would get less perks, and but it was more safe, and your players have to go a certain distance away from the residents in order for you to start having PvP again. I think that's a very interesting approach, but the other one is like you would choose, they were called companies. Your organization is a company in New World. You would choose your company's war night. So Thursday nights, 8 p.m. If you were going to wage war on, we were the lore seekers at the time. If you're going to wage war on the lore seekers, you had to actually schedule it for Thursday night at 8 p.m. And so then it'd be this mass war that most of your people could get on. It was like the 100 people that you could, staff. It was 100 people that they could staff, and they'd have to select which 100. It'd be 100 v 100. And that would be how you would take over someone's control over a territory. So I think that's super interesting. It's a method. There's a lot wrong with it, but again, for the listeners and viewers, give me a better idea. Like, I think every game struggles with this. I don't think Star Citizen is going to solve it, or at least they're going to have their own approach, which is going to make some happy and some upset, and they're going to have to balance that. But a long-winded tease to what the question will be for this podcast. Any reactions to what I just said before we move on?
Okay. The in-game law system needs to be a little bit more reliable.
Agreed.
And then they could really use that to kind of have some some consequences. When you first asked, what's a game that did it right? My first thought was to say RuneScape, but like that was sort of a joke. But at the same time, like if you attacked someone in the PvP area, you got a skull over you, just kind of like World of Warcraft, to be honest.
That's
and
right.
Then that made you attackable. Like, honestly, I think that if there was a way to, if I once threw some random question out there on X, and like Astropub just like Chadley chimed in and was like, oh, here's a link to this system that already is contemplated. And the question was like, I would love for there to be like an actual sort of mini justice system, right? Of course the lawyer wants that in a freaking video game, but like I would totally be a Judge Judy in the verse, right? And it would I bet that there are some of us that would actually do that, and then you can appeal, but then like the appeal goes to the community team at CIG, right? Take some of their time off of it, right? Like if you can kind of prove that you got pirated and stolen from, and you can like bring the person in, I don't know, maybe they have to pay some money back or something, or if somebody commits a crime against you and it's like triple verified, maybe first you go to jail and then you're on parole where your armistice zone privileges are revoked for a period of 7 days. Meaning, if you are in Area 18 and you've committed a crime against someone, either grievous bodily harm like they have in the game or homicide, I can pull out my pistol and shoot you in Area 18 with no consequences. But you can't do it to me.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to go be a terrorist, that's fine. But like the problem is just that the game doesn't really have the anti-terrorist systems in it right now, right? Like there isn't a police force, right? And some of the combat stuff is just too lopsided to really be able to do. It's a very aggression oriented right now, right? So, I mean, if somebody really wants to come grief the Daymar rally, they're going to be able to do it because you can't cover 600 or 500 kilometers with security. Yeah. Right. But if there was an actual in-game system that actually either combated or prevented that stuff, then it's a little bit easier to listen to the people who are like, well, every time you leave a station, it's PvP and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, okay, but maybe there should be some consequences to doing that to random people, right? Yeah. In game, just keep it in game, right? I mean, if there's obviously excessive griefing, then they can ban people or ban people if they want. But like if you go on a murder spree and you're caught, and then like there's a way to verify that you did it, maybe you don't have armistice zone privileges for the next 14 days in Stanton and you have to just go live in Pyro. Like that makes sense, right? Because that's within the world of the game. That makes sense. But hire me to be Judge Judy in the verse. 100%.
Yep, completely fair. Mustang, I think you were trying to add on to that?
Yeah, I didn't want to step in on it, but Rose is describing like Law and Order CIG style.
That's right. Law and Order CIG.
Like I totally like see that playing out in a weird way. Like, and that would be something that I feel like no one's ever done before. Like the prison system in this game is unlike anything I've ever seen, where if you grief people, or you get the crime stat and you actually have to go to jail, and you can earn your way out or get broken out, but you spend a period of time. But what if that got to be a little bit more stringent, or your time in prison was a lot longer? So if you were caught by other players doing the griefing or something else, or there was evidence or proof, and that was brought to a certain court of Groza, then
Groza's court.
Maybe you're off for weeks or a month at a time, right? Maybe you're serving some real period of time, and as a player, you have to agree to that in the user agreement terms that, okay, if I'm gonna go and be an asshole and I get caught being an asshole, then I'm gonna have to deal with those consequences in this new digital society. But I don't. Otherwise, I don't know how you can kind of contain that, right? We're talking about a game, and we don't need to bring law and order and structure into it so much. But to some regard, I mean, you've touched on this a couple times, so it's like I get upset, or I feel bad for the new player that comes onto this game and gets griefed by some idiot who's out for 10 minutes of fun pad ramming or whatever, stealing from somebody, and ruin somebody else's day in that first week or those first 90 days. And so I love the idea of Groza's Law and Order.
Yeah. Something has to be done.
And to be clear, like, I'm only talking about like Stanton. If you like, yeah. Because people should still be able to choose. Like, if they want to play that type of game, they should have a space where they can go do that. And I think that's Pyro, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to Stanton and you just are, committing crimes within the world of the game, then there needs to be a punishment for it, right? And I was just one last thing. Klesher's great because if you really want to, you can get out pretty quickly. But like, maybe there's a mandatory minimum, and you go to a higher security you go to a higher security prison. Maybe your mandatory minimum is 48 hours, and then you get transferred to Klesher after that, right? I mean, people are paying real money, so you probably can't lock them out of the game for like 30 days. That's probably probably. Yeah. But maybe there is an actual consequence.
I think that's part of, like, that should go hand in hand with Death of the Spaceman, right? If I can spend money and die and lose stuff that I paid for, then if somebody kills me, then I should feel somewhat safe in the idea that those people could pay the consequences for their actions. It's one thing to make me pay the consequences for being a bad pilot, steal. But it's another thing.
Shots fired.
Yep, shots fired. He did a great job last org night, though. Love you, Steel. Love you. You're so awesome. But it's another thing to also like to be the victim and to promote or propagate a system that feeds victimization. And not that Star Citizen does that, but I would like to see an equal balance, right? Or equal attention paid to, if you're gonna be an asshole, here's the asshole consequence, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we could probably have a whole nother hour conversation on this. Like, it's a deep rabbit hole. I think we've raised a lot of if this then that. Like, people are paying money, so how do you penalize them without like impacting their experience, right? We could rabbit hole this for another hour. So for the sake of time, I want to read our last email, which I'm actually going to pause on because it's the last segment of the show, but it is our best friend Disowned. He writes, firstly, I'd like to start by saying I hope everyone's week has been going good so far. Secondly, I'd love to know if there's any new info regarding Supervision merch. Are we thinking 2025 or maybe 2026 as we inch closer to the Squadron 42 release? Either way, I can't wait to show off anything and everything Soul Provision related. I promise I won't ask again for at least a month. You're going to want to stay tuned, Disowned. Stay tuned for like 10 more minutes, man. Stay tuned. In the meantime, I want to take a second. We're going to pass it over to Groza here in a second, but I want to take a second and I want to just shout out all of the Soul Provision members that took place in the Daymar rally that happened, 2 Saturdays ago at this point. Amazing level of commitment. Hours and hours of the actual event itself, but then hours and hours of preparation and getting ready and practice. It was the first time our org had ever participated in either this or the Crux Cup or any other race. So I want to shout out Shipco as our pilot, or our main captain for the Daymar rally. So I want to make sure I get the kudos out there. Freaking phenomenal. I can't wait to see if we're going to get involved in Crux Cup, if there's any more things that Shipco is going to lead for us in the race. But Groza, I'm going to pass the mic over to you. Executive summary, however you want to talk about. I would love to hear your thoughts on the Daymar rally, the preparation leading up to it, the execution of it. I'm going to give you like 10 minutes because we're already like an hour into the podcast. So 10 minutes. Well, what you got for us, man? I think it's a great conversation.
Yeah, excellent. So first off, the only reason it happened was because Shipco was like, hey, I really want to do the Daymar rally. Like, can we please do the Daymar rally? And it was kind of like, sure, let's do it, right? So there's a bit of a life lesson in there, which is like, if you wanted to go do something with some people and you want to have some fun, like, communicate it, right? Because it's actually, it takes a little bit of time, but if you just kind of if you just pay attention to the Atmo Discord after you join it and kind of just follow along with it, like, it was totally doable, right? You just have to be kind of mindful and dedicate some time and energy to doing all the prep work, reading the rules, the addendum to the rules, etc. So great job willing that into existence, Shipko. He and Tuberculosis and Bendermender, sorry. I was thinking about the program Blender. Bendermender were the truck team. So they did an Ursa, and that's like the real part of the race, I would say. I did the bike division with Steel, and it was going to be Disowned, but Disowned got locked out of Orison with the Orison catastrophe of 2955. The truck division, I mean, you're driving an Ursa and you got to go something like 500 kilometers. So it takes numerous hours. I think the people that finish first are somewhere like 6 hours in, five hours in, something like that maybe. The bike division, which I participated in with Steel, is more of like a 2-hour sort of thing mostly, because you can obviously go a lot faster. You gotta acknowledge Atmo Esports. The amount of people who spent so much time fielding so many duplicative questions, and so many questions which were in the materials that they begged people to read over and over and over again. I'm not trying to be that salty about it, but like, I mean, the amount of patience on their side to just be willing to do that. And I mean, we're talking, there were hundreds of participants, right? And hundreds of teams. And so just the logistical nightmare and undertaking that is, I mean, major kudos to them for being willing to do it, and all in a platform that's a little unreliable at the moment, let's just say. And so there's so many people that are in Atmo that I just kind of want to just list their names out, but I think I'll spend too much time doing it. Just crazy the amount of people that had to actually dedicate hours and hours and hours of time just to put that on. I mean, if you looked at like the official chat, there'd be like 50 people in there just preparing for stuff, right? So I don't know that they could have really done a better job. Sometimes they just have to make judgment calls during the prep time. You can't wait forever. If you wait forever, we're going to crash. It's tough to be in that position, but I thought they did a great job. This was my first year competing in the Daymar Rally. I watched it last year and I was very intrigued by it. Turns out being on the support craft, I think, is a lot harder than being a racer, at least from the bike perspective. There may be an element of being the driver of the truck of real endurance, because again, biker, you can get it done in a time frame that's more reasonable. I mean, I think Shipko sat behind that steering wheel of the Ursa for about 7 hours, and I don't know if I would have had the stamina to do that. But no. But the support team is actually it's so cool because some of the checkpoints you have a party marker at if the game's working correctly. So like as the bike driver, my first checkpoint is Eager Flats. But the Dragonfly doesn't have a quantum system, so I can't just go into quantum mode and see where that is, right? But there is an official who's in your party who's there. So you can kind of think you can use that to figure out how to get there. But your support team is flying a craft approximately a kilometer over you. Conceivably they could be like, hey, there's a big mountain and a bunch of rocks over here on the left. You're going to want to kind of stay right for this, right?
Sure.
But moreover, they're then needing to coordinate landing to swap out vehicles. They're needing to. Then the big thing though is that there are subsequent checkpoints that don't have a marker. In the lore, there's supposed to be a derelict reclaimer out there between Eager and Kudra Ore. So that doesn't exist yet in the game. But what they do is Atmo puts a reclaimer out there that's powered off. So that is another checkpoint that you have to go through that reclaimer's legs. So your support craft really needs to locate that, kind of give you communication to kind of help you figure out where that is. I mean, it is a reclaimer, so it's got a pretty big signature. So once you get 10, 14 kilometers, you can kind of pick it up on radar by scanning. But that's, if you aren't telling your driver where they need to go, you're not making any progress at all. So it's pretty important to just the communication that has to happen. It really is a pretty awesome team effort. I poor Steele. He was by himself with me. I'm barking orders at him or asking questions to him, and he's trying to fly. You have to then check in how far away you are from the next checkpoint. During the race, they have this whole app through SCR, which is Star Citizen Racing. I mean, it's crazy how ornate it is. So yeah, it's a really, really unique team sport, really. How did it go this year? We did one of the official practice rounds, which you go to Kudra and then about 30 kilometers towards. You go to Eager, then you go to 30 kilometers to Kudra, towards Kudra. We survived. I mean, I survived that one, so felt like a win. My goal during the actual Daymar Rally was simply to finish.
Low bar.
There was no world in which I believed I was going to be winning. I mean, we got Star Citizened pretty heavily. We did what we're supposed to do. We kind of got all of our dragonflies loaded up on our support craft beforehand. Then I was unable to log to bedlog for whatever reason. It just wasn't letting me bedlog. So then I had to go store the ship. The way it went down, there are a lot of people. There was a lot of noise on X about whether or not CIG was giving us private servers or not. I mean, I guess I can just say what happened from my perspective. And what they publicly announced was that I think they seeded a new server for us that had something like 300 people on it, 300 slots. And then had a dev launch us into it. It was not a private server. You could still join on somebody if you wanted to in there. In fact, there's evidence that it wasn't private because there were people that showed up to show off how amazing PvPers they were by destroying defenseless trucks with their spacecraft. And so of
course they did.
So it obviously wasn't private because people were able to join and then grief it for about 5 hours on end. So super impressive on their behalf there.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. There was security, and I think security did what they could. Again, it's 500 kilometers of track, so yeah, there's not people along every 500 kilometers the whole time, but you just do what you do. And then there was, I think they said something about they were going to have some devs who were working on a Saturday, so that's quite something.
It's huge.
That we're just kind of maybe trying to provide some amount of back-end support. And so it was a lower pop limit, but I think the point of that was because everybody was going to be in the same server because everybody's in Crusader, right?
That's right.
Everybody knows the state of the game is a little sketchy. I don't see how it's controversial at all that CIG would try to give a little bit of back-end support to one of the biggest community events that there is. I just don't see how that's controversial at all. If you tried real hard, you were still able to join on us and then grief us, whatever. It wasn't but it was not a private server. So all of that chat about it being a private server, it wasn't a private server.
Sure.
Steele, he just kind of got a little bit screwed. We loaded up our support craft 3 different times with 6 dragonflies. When we first loaded into the server, I ran to the hangar, summoned the ship. It did the thing where it spawns in underneath the hangar. Then we had a server error. And then I had to claim it. So we had to claim it. We had to load it up with more dragonflies. We flew it out there, landed, got on the starting line. Lots of problems with people not seeing the party markers, people not seeing the quantum markers, blah, 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 blah. And then we had another server error, and Steel somehow got teleported underneath the surface of Daymar with our support vehicle, which had all of our backup equipment I mean, you were able to respawn. If I would have died, I could have respawned on the ship, right?
Sure.
So we had like backup undersuits, backup oxygen pens, backup everything, backup dragonflies, blah, 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 blah. So he gets teleported underneath the surface of Lady Daymar. I was like, well, you might as well try to fly up back through the surface. So he did that and then blew up right when he hit the surface.
Good.
So we basically, so then the race ends up starting. Half of our server had to crash to desktop. But we managed to kind of get back in. We start the race. Somebody hits me right at the beginning. I lose an engine. I then am sort of on my own because Steel then has to like respawn somewhere, try to grab another support ship, which would have DQ'd us anyways, because once you spawn somewhere else than your support ship, you're DQ'd. And so I got myself from the starting line to Eager, checked in there, apparently was like in third place for a while, which is hilarious.
Screenshots to prove it.
And then I was never able to sort of get the correct direction on where to go, and then I ended up blowing up. But I mean, once we lost our support ship with all of the stuff that we had packed in it, I mean, there was no way we were going to finish. So
yeah,
it's sort of, I mean, I'm kind of at a point where it's like, it's fine. It's not Atmo's fault. It was, game was just a little sketchy. CIG did what they could. Appreciate the fact that Nico was on our server trying to help us get in.
Yep. I
mean, that's a Saturday. I get it. Putting in those extra time, especially after you just had to spend some extra time over the holiday, it's appreciated. There's not a lot of negativity coming from this simple man in Iowa about it, because you do what you do. There's going to be a makeup session next Saturday, and we're doing it just because it was fun. Yeah. So look forward to do the makeup session.
That's awesome. Hearing you tell that story, it sounds like the behind the scenes of the pod racing. Like it could be season 1 and 2 of pod racing from Phantom Menace, like all the other crap that, if you could imagine a bunch of the story of all the little robots and all the other people that had to get the pod racers together just to make that little run, and then they all crash in like 3 minutes. That's basically what you went through.
Yep.
It's like
well, before I wrap it up, any other responses to that story?
No, I'd say just great job. Like you said, Groza, Shipco, huge shout out to coordinating everybody, and could see him in Discord almost daily, right? Just trying to corral everybody and coordinate practice sessions, and I think it was really cool to see the effort, and just a huge kudos to everybody that was involved. I can see that it's a huge undertaking just to participate. So I think it's awesome that we were able to put together a team in each division.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they did finish 10th, so they were top 10. Just to acknowledge that.
Which is great.
I love the idea, and I want to say to that crew, everybody that participated, keep going, keep doing it, and keep trying, because this is another thing to wave a Soul Provision banner around on. And so, like, let's just keep doing it and have a presence, and make it fun for other people. We will find the right people to be on the team, and everybody will come in and support it, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I think there's a strategic and a tactical reason. Let's back up a little bit. Other than those that are racing, from a organization standpoint, you want, in your infant stages, you want to become a household name, hopefully for the right reasons. you don't want to become well known for the wrong reasons. Still, but you want.
Well, hold on.
Kidding.
His defense.
Yeah.
This was not his fault.
I know. I'm totally kidding.
This was not his fault.
He knows.
Doesn't happen often, but it wasn't his fault.
often to find the frequency there. So no, but I think like the more we get out there, the more we get that banner flying, like Mustang was saying, like you want to become a household name, and this is how we do it, whether we are top 10 or whether we're not. Like, number one, have fun. And I'm about to get into that piece here in a second. But number one, have fun. Number two, just getting our name part of people's conversation. Like the same like top three, I've heard those names for 2 or 3 years now at this point. But having Soul Provision in the top 10, that's phenomenal. That's great. We've put our foot into 2955 as an org that is engaged, right? An org that's out there doing things. So I would love to see us involved in the Crux Cup, but nothing supersedes just having fun in the game. And I think this is how I want to conclude this piece or this segment. You've heard it several times in the last hour and 20 minutes that like the game is fun if you make it fun. Like you've got to have the drive to make it fun. If you're just doing a cargo hauling mission and it craps out on you for the 20th time, you're probably not going to have fun. You're probably going to like sign off, switch over to another game, and you're going to be pretty upset with the game. But if you have yourself a home, I don't even care if it's Soul Provision. If you have yourself a home of good people who you can play with on your left and right, who you can make your own story, do murder mysteries, do arena commander nights, and just not play the game how it was intended, right? Like if you think about Daymar Rally, it's nothing about Daymar Rally is actually driven by the game, right? It's you're the one making up the points to go from point A to point B. You're the one setting up a reclaimer to drive through the legs. Like that is driven by the community. So I think if we continue with that mindset into this year, into the next year, we don't necessarily need base building. Let's set up an 890 jump somewhere and call it our base and have our base on some planet and just live off of that. Like we could have some fun as an organization and inside of your organization. Any responses to that before we go to the very, 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 very last segment?
I'm 100% in support of that. Everything you just said, like that. That's why I'm here.
Plus a million. Agreed. Awesome. All right, Disowned. Here's the answer to your question. I would love to start off by saying this is going to be a very phenomenal year in Soul Provision. So again, even if you're not part of our org, stay tuned. Just listen to see what the potential of an org can be. But we started this year off our new endeavor being Extra Life. We're raising money. We're almost at $700 out of a goal of 5,000. We've got philanthropy. We're at 300 members in Discord. I think 180 in Spectrum, but we're at 300 in Discord. We're building out squadrons. We're building out sub-organizations. We're bringing on new officers, or at least talking about it. We are hitting growth outside of the game. I'm not even talking about inside the game. We are having so much fun in our Discord. Over Christmas or over the December holidays, we had giveaways, which had its own dynamic, but we had giveaways. Like we have, again, so many sub-community events happening in the org. I am very proud to announce that we have landed the plane, landed the ship, landed the spaceship, whatever's appropriate here, on our logo. So I'm going to share my screen for the official 2955 logo of Soul Provision. What you will find on future t-shirts, on future jerseys, ideated by the four of us, created by Mustang, but I'm going to pass the floor over to Mustang to announce our official logo. Mustang, take it away.
Yeah, so there it is. So this I think came, and I got a little chills from all the foghorn there. So we wanted to take it farther than just the crate and the circular design. And I go back to Citizen Con, and Sulyce and I happen to be online in the Discord chat. We're listening to some of the releases, and they start talking about you're going to be able to paint your logo on t-shirts and on your ships. And we were back and forth like, here we go. This is it. This is going to be us. And then the ideas started running away. And I was working on, so travel a lot. So I've got my little sketchbook and I started pulling up the logo. How do I redesign this? How do I look at what is Soul Provision? And I have to say one thing from a designer standpoint, having a 3-letter and then a 9-letter word, probably one of the hardest.
Sorry,
like the
guys.
imbalance of that is it has been really, really challenging. But we wanted to present logistics that goes anywhere, and so we've got the crate that you may be familiar with wings, and we've been working this out and building it with the right kind of colors, but we're also going to very soon be announcing specific org branch patches. So there'll be one for logistics, there'll be one for field operations, there's going to be one for the command headquarters, and one for, what is it? It's security, is that right? No, combat. Yeah, so, and those are going to be org member specific. So as we get this ordering process and the design and production process down with the right kind of vendor, you'll be able to get one of those patches with your call sign. And really, really, really excited. I wanted to share those tonight. I've got one right now looking at the logistics with Marauder's name on it. It's not quite ready to go, but where we're at, these logos right here, they're going to be able to, we're going to pass these along. They're going to look great on stickers. They're going to look great on the t-shirt. I love the Wayland Corp kind of thing. For me, that's what it looks like. But yeah, I'm super excited to get to work on this kind of stuff all the time. Love having the feedback from everybody on what they like about it, but posters, all of that stuff. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Pause. Go there.
Any other reactions from the other two before I add a little commentary?
I'm the worst because I'll ask Mustang, I'll have like a little idea, and I still don't quite understand. I'm just not really good at interacting with Adobe. So like last week, poor guy was sharing a stream, and I'm like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you make this a little bit more slanted? Can you do this? Can you move that to the left a little bit? And I'm aware enough of like designer people that have clients that I was probably the worst to deal with.
Yeah, that's exactly what you don't want.
You don't want to be like RZA. Don't be like RZA.
I will say, though, through that experience, though, one of the things that was funny, because I was talking with the Grows, and I was like, okay. And he's like, well, is that it? Are we done? And I'm like, well, I'm going to run it through the math. And the math being the golden mean. So if you're not familiar, like I like to design everything so that there's a certain sort of golden mean symmetry to it. And when I put that measurements and did the math, ran the traps on it, Grows, I didn't change anything. It lined up perfect. So whether I
told you we can just eyeball it.
Yeah, well, I had to be sure though, and so as I designed that out, but Soul Provision on the bottom, Soul Provision on the top, like it still lines out, and like that's how I knew. You know, I was like hands up and called my wife. I'm like, come here, look at this, look at what I did. It's like, this is it. We're gonna do it. Yeah. But I was putting it on fake coffee cups and like all kinds of other things. So I can't wait to get like the black org coffee cup, or even etch it into a little bourbon glass, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm really proud of this work, and I hope the org appreciates it, and I think this is going to be a really good brand to put our name everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. And so we're thinking t-shirts, like you already called out, coffee mugs. I would die to get this on a Glencairn glass because my thing is bourbon. So get that etched on a a Glencairn glass, and I'll buy like 100 of them. But like
I want it etched into my AR lower.
Okay. Yeah, 100%, dude.
Well, you have to go to Pyro for that.
Yeah. I want the tattoo actually on my face, you know.
It grows that tramp stamp.
Exactly. And the one thing I want to tease real quick, I was waiting, and I don't think the three of you know that I'm going to do this, so I apologize in advance. I was waiting for the logo. Now that we have the logo, I am officially ready to pull the trigger on our jerseys as well. So the jersey, very similarly, is, I mean, if you're part of Star Citizen, if you're part of any game community, the jersey, the esports jersey, is a very commonplace, expectation here. And so I'm going to show you all quickly what I have been looking at. The color scheme and everything else, it matches. It's in line with our Nightfire armor, which I'm pretty sure that's what you did as well, using the same hex codes over there, Mustang. But the jersey's tailored to your gamer tag, having the Beyond the Verse logo on one shoulder, having the your patch, right? We were just talking about the Soul Provision patch on the other shoulder, having like the headquarters if you're one of the four of us, or if you're part of the combat ops or support ops, having that on the other shoulder, with on the chest, right on the breastplate, having the Soul Provision logo. I think these jerseys are going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to also pursue that with y'all as well. But Mustang, thank you so much, man. Like this would not be where we are today without your expertise and the hard work that you've put in to ideate and to come up with these creations. So I want to publicly just say thank you to that. And obviously Groza Marauder helping us ideate, helping us, making sure that it's the right logo and it fits our brand and it fits what we're trying to accomplish within the community. So thank you to all three of you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I'll echo that, Mustang. I love jumping on our boardroom chat and just seeing the new ideas that you come up with, and then we provide the feedback, and then you just turn that into some new creation that we ideate more on. So yeah, just great job.
100%.
Well, and
good.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and like it's fun. I bounce these ideas off of people all the time, and getting to work with the creative community in the org, and I encourage. If you are creative out there and you don't have a group, join us. I'm looking for other designers, other video folks, and all of that stuff. And we are a creative bunch.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool to be here and get this opportunity. I love doing the design, and so it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, family, we are at an hour and a half. So yeah, let's go ahead and button this one up. Let's go down. We'll go down the screen. Groza, any last minute thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, emotional outbursts? Where can we find more of Groza? Go ahead and give us your outro.
What up?
What up, chat?
I've been so stale in terms of like creating anything. Like I haven't even posted a screenshot since like early December. I was right before we started. I was going back through some, and I had the same sort of memories. Like I have a screenshot of Mustang's first jump, and like how have I not shared that with at least him? But I'm on X primarily as @CitizenGroza. I have a YouTube channel as well that I haven't uploaded in quite a while. But I just sort of eternally. I acquire all these recordings, and then I get overwhelmed by them, and I just delete them all, and I say I'll record something new next time. So, but no, I'm primarily on X and YouTube. It's not a political statement. It's just I just don't really. I'm on Instagram as well at same thing, Citizen Groza. But that's just sort of where I hang out and live. So if you want to come say hi or something like that, go for it. I'm also pretty active in our Discord. Dude, I love our good morning gang.
I know.
Like, Bravo started saying good morning basically every morning, and now every day I wake up and I look at it and I just see everybody, and that's just I just love it. So small
things.
Just come play. If you have an idea, if you just want to try something, do what Shipco Set did. Just come be like, hey, I really want to try this. Is anybody available to help? There are so many people in our org who are just hanging out in chat waiting for people that are just wanting to try stuff. So you should totally come check it out. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited about the patches. I'm really excited about the patches. I'm really excited about the shirts. I'm really excited to sip on a coffee cup with Soul Provision logo while I meet with clients in my law office. Currently, I have my little G with the gladius and circle behind it. Currently, I have a mug with that on it.
Oh, nice.
Works. Yeah.
Well done.
That works. All right, Marauder, what's your outro? Let's go.
Looking forward to more org nights, more stable org nights, and here in 2955. I think that we've ideated amongst us. I think we have so many ideas of stuff that we want to do for org nights. So really looking forward to bringing some of those together. And I do want to say to the rest of the, at least on our org community, it's like, if you have some ideas, right? You've seen our org nights so far. I mean, we get 20, 25, almost 30 people. If you have some ideas on something that you think would be cool with that many people, shoot it to us. Right, I think that one of the things that we talked about doing is on the website, putting in some sort of a an area where you can go in and you can throw out your idea for an org night that we can possibly ideate on and use that and build an op board off of that. So, looking forward to hearing some ideas from the community, but then also kind of bringing some of the stuff that we've come up with to fruition this year. So, that's all I got.
Love it. Thanks for being on, brother. Mustang, sign us out.
Yeah, so Mustang 6, I rock around on X and Insta from time to time. I have not been real active since the past holidays, but similar to Groza, I have been working for the past year with Groza and Disowned on a little bit of a storyline, and I'm getting much closer to a production similar to the Provisions comics. Very much in line with that, and I've been perfecting sort of design stuff for that. So I'm real excited that that's starting to get a lot closer. The script is being written for a 3-season, 10-episode each sort of graphic novel style something within the Star Citizen universe called Moonrunner. And that's going to involve a lot of work, a lot of production value with things. It's not exactly a video. It's not going to be really a printed comic book, but it's going to be sort of something in between. All of that.
Oh, it's going to be a printed comic book. That's going to happen.
Well, we'll work on that with CIG so that we're not.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, that's
big
the part,
thing to consider.
Yeah, made by the community.
The lawyer forgot about that part.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's a lot of fun, and I've spent a lot of time paying attention to the lore and reading and watching all the other content creators and this community of Star Citizen at large. Chris Roberts has really latched on to something that I think a lot of people want to see happen, and so much that it's a world and a sandbox we all get to play in. And creatively, I don't think I could make the rest of the art that I make without having Star Citizen in my life now. So it's something really, really awesome. And so is Sulyce, this Soul Provision world you brought us into, right? This thing is really, really cool. And every Thursday night or whenever we get together, it's something awesome. So I'm digging it.
Yeah. Well, I'm humbled to be around y'all. Thank you so much for being part of the team, part of my family. I look forward to every Sunday night when we meet, and hopefully y'all have enjoyed these last 2 podcasts. Again, episode 82 was the first time I had these jokers on. Obviously here with 91. Our 100th episode's coming up in 8 weeks. Like that freaking blows my mind. I don't know.
What are we gonna do? Like fireworks, shotguns, right? Like
everybody bring your rifles.
Yeah.
We got to come up with something big. But thank y'all so much. Let me wrap this one up, guys. All right. If you want to become part of the conversation, go to our website, either beyondtheversehq.com or soulprovision.com. Find anything you ever want to know about the podcast or about our organization there. You can also email us at contact@beyondversehq.com, and we'll read your emails at the beginning of every episode like you're accustomed to at this point. Guys, I hope this finds you well. Safe travels as you traverse beyond the verse. Take care, everybody.